So, hopefully that'll stop as soon as.
Oh, yeah.
F5 doesn't work. You're being silly.
You can see it now. Hey guys. I think it's almost 9 now. And it's funny when you like see yourself on the screen over there, you're like, I didn't know I had that there.
Right. Jen and Tim C are on.
Hi! Jen, Timsy! Hello. Don't start. Little puppy. Oh, seriously? Yeah, see? She gets precedence. Piper actually made all this pottery you see over here, not me.
Barb is on.
Barbara! Thank you, Barb. Love you.
Jen says, hello, my dear.
Hello, my beautiful. Mwah. Love you.
Tim says, bork, bork.
Bark, bark. Now I'm getting weird looks from my dog. No, you're not talking on camera anymore. That's it. You had your 15 seconds.
Okay, we've got about 30 people on, so if you want to start, whenever you want.
Alright, so, hi. My name is Lulu, DeGan. We're going to be doing Underglaze on greenware today. Freehand designs. And so a little bit about me. I've been painting, drawing since I was in high school, and I started off on, of course, canvases like most people, and went to like stools and small pieces of furniture. This is one of my go-to designs that I love doing. It's done with a syringe, this little guy. So this is probably like an ounce, I think, with a very small syringe. That's my preferred size. I know a lot of people use all different size syringes. You have to fill it a lot more often, but I'm just kind of talking a lot right now until we get a few more people, make sure everyone's on that's going to be on before I get into what I'm going to do.
About 75 people on.
75 people. Oh, okay. Well, so most of the stuff that you'll see is actually thrown by my husband, Thomas DeGan. He teaches. Oh, there. God, that was loud. He teaches on the weekends, pottery, that is. And the reason I started getting into this, I was not really pleased with my pottery that I would do, and I took a class at
Mid-Atlantic Clay Conference.
Mid-Atlantic Clay Conference, and learned about Diana Ferris. She's awesome. Underglazing onto right onto the pottery, and I realized I could put the designs that I do on my furniture straight onto the pottery, and I was hooked. So my original plan was, I'm going to take this pottery that I feel looks like crap and I'm going to make it look really cool. I've had a lot of coffee tonight, so sorry, you're going to have to deal with it. So anyways, we're going to dive right in. We'll go over the types of tools I use, the clay I like to work with, any little tricks, and a few different ideas of how to pick out a good design, things, and kind of, and then whatever questions you guys have. So we're going to adjust the camera so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm going to go over, actually before we go too far, we're going to go into the lace design. I tend to do this one a lot. It's a real easy, fun one to do. Zentangle, which is, I'll go over what that is if you've not heard of it before. This is my go-to design, like I said, which a piece I started earlier. So I'll show you how I got to that point. And a few other things, brush technique versus syringe. So, okay, now we'll get right into it. This is our victim right here. Normally what I would do, I might do it a little bit different for this demo, but normally I would let it rest in my hand. This is greenware, so it's obviously very fragile, and we're going to be working straight on it. It is bone dry, so you can probably, I don't know if you can hear that. It's easier to work with bone dry because if it's wet at all, if it's still cold, you're going to get your nozzle really clogged up, which it's not going to be fun to keep cleaning that. So I suggest always have wire handy just in case, because it will, just assume it's going to get clogged and you're going to have to deal with that. So normally, I know anybody that's seen me working at the studio, I would be using this guy, magnifying lamp. Yep, thanks. This makes a huge difference as far as the work goes. I'm not using this today because you won't be able to see me in what I'm doing. The difference it makes, real quick. This is with my glasses, my just regular magnifying glasses. That's with the magnifying lamp. It's a huge difference in the detail that you can get. So, this is my favorite one. Very ergonomic, easy to use. I always have a surface to make sure to try this out on, make sure all the air bubbles are to the top. Yep, looks good. Okay, and we're just going to start. So what I'll do is I always start at the handle. If it does spit or anything like that, well, I gotta get my glasses on, then that's a perfect spot to hide it. And also, a lot of times you'll have like a little line where the handle is meeting the body. And I'll go right up alongside that. So, I don't know what I'm going to make. And so I just kind of go along. It's like an erratic heartbeat.
By the way, you've got hi from Michigan, Niagara on the Lake, Colorado, nice. Louisiana, Southern California, Vegas.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for joining us. All over the place. I used to live in Vegas. Nice hiking up there. Out there? Over there. Over whatever. Okay, so quick all the way around. We're going to do the same at the bottom. Don't try to match it. It's supposed to be just whatever. We'll fill it in afterwards. And if you do, see, it's going to bubble. Leave it. Trust me. So much easier than trying to fix it is just to leave it. We'll incorporate that. Darn it. We'll incorporate that into the design. It's going to misbehave.
Hello from Texas and Mississippi and Madison, Wisconsin.
Good, nice people. Thank you. Great to hear from you. Thank you for joining us.
And Washington State.
Whew. All the way in the West Coast. Okay, so you'll see what I usually do. The points, those are going to be my leaves. Everything else is a flower. The easiest one, my go-to design is a rose. Real quick. So I I never knew how to draw roses. Technically, I really still don't. It might be a rose. It might be something more like this. I love these coloring books because a lot of times they are very close to the size that would actually fit. This one obviously is a little bit too large, but that's okay. I can get my idea of my basic shape that I'm going to go for. So I just kind of take a look at it and just what shape I'm going to start off with and how I'm going to build. You'll notice that a lot of times the petals start in the middle of another petal and go around. So that's basically what I'm going to do. They do theirs a little bit more rounded. I tend to have some corners in mine. However you like is fine. Zentangle is another thing I use quite often. This is one of my favorite designs to do on leaves. It's just something simple. It gives it depth and shape. It's a great book, Zentangle books, the coloring books, because you have so many different designs in here and there's a lot of ideas on how to fill in the space. Because that's basically what we're going to do, is do flowers all the way around, draw on the leaves where they're obvious leaves, and then the rest of it, we just fill in the space. I'm always going to tap this and do a little line just to start off to make sure there's no air bubbles right down at the bottom. So I'm just going to start off with whatever, literally whatever kind of squiggle in the middle, and then some kind of shape. Start in the edge, and then just, it's going to look like a Picasso thing at first. That's okay. Try to go in the center of one of the petals, and eventually it's going to start looking like something. Don't worry about if you make, see, it's a shadow. Any of those little, things that you will see as a mistake, nobody's going to see them except you. Don't worry about it. And you'll be able to fix it anyways in a little bit. There we go. All right, so kind of looks like a flower, right? Now if you, see, now this is perfect. It's sticking. This is going to happen from time to time. So the wire that I was talking about, you want to make sure to pay attention to what size, what gauge your nozzle is. I work with usually 24 gauge nozzle. My wire, my brass wire, because it doesn't rust, is 26 gauge. The higher the number, the smaller it is. So I know that is going to fit inside and not get stuck. So I'm just gonna have to push it down as far as I can.
Somebody wanted to see the book again a little bit closer to the camera.
Sure. The first book?
The the coloring book. Just zoom in on the book, please. So I don't know if there was pages, but
so this particular one is I love Day of the Dead, skulls and what have you. So a lot of times I get these at Michael's. I lost my page. I totally lost the page. I'm so sorry, guys. But there's that one. In case you were talking about the other one, the Zentangle, this is my favorite. This has so many ideas, so many different patterns in it. You will never run out of ideas. This is phenomenal. So that's that one, Into the Wild. Again, Michael's, which I don't know about you guys, for out here, they're still open. They're doing ordering online and curbside pickup, which is kind of cool, last I heard. Okay, so we're going a little quick here. It really depends on how much detail and time you want to put into these. the flowers and leaves, I'm going to leave black and white. I like that look. A lot of times I will fill in above and beneath with a solid color. I'm always going to work on white clay. That's my preference. Once in a great while I'll work with a dark clay, but that limits my design because that means I'm going to have to make sure to use white, and it's a different look. But just make sure your clay body is like Little Loafers, porcelain, they work great. Don't get anything with a lot of grog in it. The speckled clays aren't going to do so well because the speckles will, they don't work well with your designs. It kind of messes them up. So, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. So of course this is going to be a brat right now. We're going to switch because that's being rotten. That's why I always have extra ones. And then one more extra one. There we go. Okay. We're back in business. All right. So this one is a slightly bigger gauge that I don't like. This is what happens. So we're going to talk a second about finishing once you do your design on there. We're going to set that aside. All right, so this one I've done all the way around. You just fill it in, and then with the this is what it looks like with the color on top, design on the bottom. Which I'll do that in just a second, as soon as I get this thing fixed. But what I wanted to talk about was this is on greenware, like I was saying, and I have no idea.
And you're using Underglaze.
Thank you. So yeah, so that's Underglaze that I'm using. It's Amico Velvet Underglaze. This particular one is bright red. It is not food safe until you put a clear glaze on top of it. So what you're going to want to do is biscuit. There we go. So this is made to go to cone 6. And then once you have bisqued it, then you can go ahead and clear glaze it. You'll want to use zinc-free, I always use zinc-free clear. That does not cloud up on you, and you will be able to, there it goes, okay. You'll get a much better result, I feel, with the zinc-free. So what I do is I'll use a sponge after it's come out of bisque. I sponge on one coat of the clear on top of my design. Once that dries completely, then I do a flat wide brush and I do another coat. Sometimes I'll do a third coat, especially where your mouth goes, just to make sure it's nice and smooth. But that should be more than enough. Now with the syringe that I'm using, as opposed to a paintbrush, if I was using a paintbrush, I would have to do 3 coats of this to get a nice solid color. Since I'm using the syringe, it goes on thick enough. This is all I have to do. I do not have to go over these lines. It'll come out nice and solid. So these I am not going to fill in. You can. It is a lot of work. If anything, I will go back in and I'll put some little details, some little dots to give it a little bit more depth. And we did this earlier, it was fine. Now it's going to be so I'm just filling this back up really quick. Really easy to fill this back up. And that's it. Sorry guys. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. So, the biggest culprit you're going to have with your design thing to worry about are your fingers being clean. That is my...
Someone would like you to explain the brush coat and why you use a sponge, or why use a sponge.
So, when you're doing the clear on top of your design, my biggest issue is having spots where it's too thick and where it can become cloudy, the clear glaze that is. So when you're applying your clear glaze on top, you just keep patting it all the way around. This is going to give you a nice even base, and you're not going to get, there's much less likelihood to have any dripping or pooling or anything like that.
To be clear, the pieces are bisque fired first before the clear glaze is applied.
Exactly. So this is, you know, greenware, but so once this goes into the bisque kiln, comes back out, that's when I put my clear on.
Somebody'd like to know where you get the squeeze bottle, the ergonomic squeeze bottle.
So this one I got at CSI. The other one I got over at the Kiln Doctor in Front Royal. So they both have, I can't remember if those are on Amazon or not, but that's where I've gotten mine.
Just Pottery Supply Store.
Pottery Supply Store. Okay, so my hands are dry. I'm being very careful. The way I'm holding it, I know is not ideal. However, since I'm working kind of quickly, I do not want to be touching where my design is, because that's how you ruin your design, is having it touching your hand and then smudging it. So, I'm going to do this quick. A lot of my design ideas I will get either from the coloring books or Pinterest. It's a fantastic source. I'll usually look up either women's tattoos, black and white tattoos. The reason why women's is they tend to be smaller, and I like the lines that they use. Guys' tattoos a lot of times have just those straight, rigid lines. The girls' tattoos seem to have more of a flow to them that's just easier for me to translate onto pottery. Okay, so we've pretty much gotten flowers all the way around here. We're going to go back in and we're going to fill in the leaves. These are not going to be exact, which I am fine with. Now, you'll notice I'm holding it to the side. You never want to come at your piece straight forward with the nozzle, leading with the nozzle. You're going to get clay in there so fast, you're never going to get through your design. I'll either try to pull this away, or I'll lay it on its side and try to go sideways. It doesn't come out as clean of a line sometimes that way, but it's better than gouging your design, your piece. Okay, so my go-tos are always lines and dots to fill in.
So Diane would like to know if there's a base coat, cream color slip, It's just the raw clay.
Just the raw clay. Yep. I don't do slip because I like a really nice smooth surface. So that's one thing also to remember when you're working with underglaze is you want a nice smooth surface. I used to, when I was doing regular glaze, I wouldn't clean up my piece too much because I'm like, oh, you're not going to see it because the glaze will smooth everything out. Well, you're not going to have that with these. It'll show through. So make sure your piece is nice and smooth. So if any of you have not worked with underglaze, the difference quickly between regular glaze and underglaze. Regular glaze runs. It reacts with each other, and also everything looks like some shade of mud. With underglaze, just gotta adjust here. Underglaze, what you see is what you get. So that blue, that's how it's gonna come out onto my piece. The orange, that orange is going to be pretty much true to color. It might be slightly different once you glaze it. It could be a little bit darker. And here's something to be mindful of also. It does behave somewhere between acrylic paint and watercolors. So unfortunately, when I went to write my words in there, which we'll go over that in a little bit, it's a pain in the butt. It didn't stand out as much as I would have liked. I should have used black right on top of here instead of using the blue because it's kind of hard to read. So there's that. But so all I was saying is it's a little bit brighter, more intense once you put the clear glaze on it, as opposed to down here where it's not clear glazed. That's the color.
All right. I have a request for zooming in.
Yeah.
So we're going to try zooming in a little bit.
Yep.
Okay, then I'll just yell at you because you're out of frame.
Okay. Trying to keep somewhat in here. We got black all over the place. All right. So now we're I know I've got some spots where you'll see
yeah, you're perfectly in frame.
Excellent. Little smudges. Again, I'm not going to fix those up right now. I'm just gonna, there we go. I'm just gonna go with it. And I never know quite what my piece is going to look like until I do it. I always have some kind of reference. So one of those coloring books or Pinterest is always open, just so I have something to go with. And also there's going to be those moments when you're just like, I don't know what to put here. I look over at the book, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Angelo misses you.
Oh, sweetheart, I miss you so much. Don't make me cry. I love you. I seriously miss you so much. I cannot wait for you and Kelly to come over. And we're getting new ducks and bees.
Okay, focus.
Sorry. We're getting bees tomorrow, though.
You're not
focusing. See, now it's going to be tempting just to sit here and talk about bees because he's going to get all weird on me. Antsy. No pun intended. Huh.
What else do you search for on Pinterest besides women tattoos for your inspirations?
Men's underwear. No, I'm kidding. They do have some cool designs on men's underwear, though. So Zentangle. Zentangle's a fantastic one. Black and white. Hey, yeah, anybody that wants to, go find me on Pinterest. Lulu DeGan. Oh, is it Lulu DeGan? I think it's Lulu.
I don't know what your name is.
I think it's Lulu DeGan. Split apart Lulu or Lulu DeGan. It's one of those two. So I've got a lot of different things on there, different boards. I got into looking at crazy patterns, wallpapers, women's dresses. I would find the dresses that look so damn ugly, like those things in the thrift store. I'll go to the thrift store and I'll take pictures of these dresses because I'm like, yeah, I would not wear that, but that's a cool pattern, and you know they're great for copying. I've actually, holy cow! Now that I'm saying that, I just remembered this girl I used to work with. That's so funny. This was her dress. I just thought of that. That's where I got it was like this. It was like one half was red and the other half was just black and white flowers. I thought it was so cool. I took a picture.
Again. Sorry. There you go.
There we go. So I took a picture of it, and then that's what I started putting on all my pottery because I loved it. So yeah. So all right.
Also, somebody would like to know what your Instagram is.
My Instagram, that's Split Apart Lulu. And then also, I think so Split Apart Lulu is me, and then most of the artwork is on Split Apart Art. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on Instagram. Okay, so we've got that whole thing done. So there are some parts that's smudged. We're not going to touch that yet. We're going to wait till it's totally dry before we try to do anything with that. I should not have had that coffee because now I feel shaky. But Goose Fraba, or whatever the hell they say.
What were you trying
I don't know. Something from Seinfeld. Goose
Woosah.
It's not woosah.
Oh, I don't know then.
You're a dork. Alright, so I'm going to go through I made a mess.
Alright, what are we doing next?
I'm not telling you. It's a surprise.
Alright, then I won't focus on it.
La. Good.
Right now we just have dead screen.
Good. I'm glad. So there. Alright, so I'm going to show you my latest design. Also, real quick, choosing a size. So, alright, I know, I get all technical. This is how I choose what size my design is going to be. Okay, so it's a little bit, my hand doesn't quite fit in there. My fist, that's actually a pretty good size. That would be a good size. I would have a little bit of white space for the center. And you have to take in consideration it's not totally flat, but I should easily be able to get my hand, in here to do the design. So I want something that's about the size of my fist. So that's what I'm going to think about if I'm looking through a coloring book and doing that. The other thing is when I'm not going to do the design in the bottom of here right now because you won't be able to see it, but when I go to do the edge, you'll notice I put my fist down. I'm going to rest my wrist on top of my fist. That is going to help you so much to keep your hand steady. So you don't have to try to hold your hand up here, which it's going to shake. I'm over exaggerating there, but so that'll give you something to rest on because you don't want to lean on your piece, of course. Again, greenware. So, forget how heavy that is. Is that in frame?
That is very close in frame, yes.
Do I have to move it?
No.
Okay. So, the size. So this is one of the ones where it's like, all right, I can fit my entire hand on there. So I thought that was I had been wanting to do this on something. So it's just a ring of centerpiece of a tree. That's what those things are called. It's a tree. Yeah, so this is the Zentangle I was talking about. So it's just a repeating pattern of anything. But it's a nice way to just fill your piece, go with whatever moves you, and also be mindful. It's not just about the size of the piece, because yes, that is fist size, but I'd only be able to fit one. I don't know if I'd be able to put that in the bottom of the bowl. But you want to think about this. This is not going to work on a small teacup because all those lines, they're not going to come out. It was already a challenge on this piece to be able to see all those lines. If I want any smaller, you're going to lose the design. So that's just another thing to be mindful of. And just to FYI, because I know it looks like, I'm going back to this again, it looks like I've placed this on top of the black. I did not, because this would not come out white and pink the way you see. So what I did was I just took pencil. Number 2 is great because it's soft enough, or it's not going to leave a mark on your greenware piece, because yeah, this is done on greenware. So I mark out where my flower is going to be, and then around that I do the design, and I just start doing the flowers, and I just stop once I get to that pencil line. Once that's done, I would actually suggest doing that the other way around. I'm sorry, I told you wrong. Do the white first, because if you do your black designs first and you get all the way up to the edge and you try to come back around here with your white, there's too much of a chance of getting a lot of bleeding and it turning gray and looking messy. So yeah, do your light colors, always light colors first and then your dark colors. Which we're going to digress over, since we're on that, really quick here. In frame?
Sure.
Thanks. Sure. We'll go with that if that's what you want to show them. All right. Same. Okay. Same here with the sunflower. I did draw in the circle first. I think I actually measured that one because I'm not great with drawing a circle. Drew that in, and I kind of did the same technique that you saw me do over there, freehand, you know, whatever. I'll fill in the leaves later. Start with your lightest color first. So I filled in all the yellow, and this was with the paintbrush. And then on top of that, once I do the lightest color, wait for that to dry. Because if you start piling on the orange on top of it and then the red, everything's going to start to smear and run all in together. So I did a semi-dry brush. Again, this is all Underglaze. Once I got all the leaves kind of where I wanted them to be, I let that dry completely. Then I came around with the black. So the other neat trick is the black, if you go down too far, that's okay. You go with it, and you can't tell if I've gone down too far at any point. This is not carved, by the way. I've got a friend, Jen Mack, that does really great sgraffito work, and I'm totally jealous. So, but since mine are always bone dry when I work on them, I thought I'm gonna make it look just like sgraffito. This was so much more work. Well, actually, no. Hers are great. I can't get mine to that point. But I wanted it to make it look like that, so I just did the black swirls, and then I went back and I filled in all the little gaps. One other. I love whenever there's a little piece that makes your pottery unique, like the little thumb holes, accentuate it. I've seen this before where they've all those little extra pieces they put on. I love those pieces. Draw attention to them, because I know that takes so much extra work and effort and craftsmanship. So make it a big deal, you know. My husband does those. I don't do those because I don't think of that. But anyways, but I always love to accentuate all the cool stuff he does. So, lace. So I call this the V.6 because it sounds all cool and technical. So all it is, it's a V. Which way are we going to go? This way, that way. We'll go inwards. Okay. So you're going to draw a V. Okay. Put dots. Start at the tip. And then go up the sides. If you can see that.
There you go.
Up the sides. There's your dot, and then 6.
Somebody wants to know how much you have to charge because it looks like a lot of work.
Well, teacups, those are sold for $45. The other pieces, it depends on how big the piece is and how much work I've put into it. See, it's stuff like this. I'm going to go all around there in a second, but you'll see it's going to come out looking basically like that. Once you start going, it goes quickly. It's just ends up being like muscle memory. But yeah, and that is another nice thing though, is with your pieces, when you accentuate the shape that you've created, and I know you know this from, you know, that's a lot of you will choose certain specific glazes because it's going to show off the shape of your pottery better. This was something I started because I didn't like the shape of my pottery. But you can show off all those things, all those little details that you've put into your pottery, I feel, just to such a higher degree when you use Underglaze. You bring their focus into, you know, how the handle connects and that little thumb hold, and, you know, the way the rim is or what have you. V.6, back to this. So it's uneven, it's quick. I like it that way. I want it to look like a natural piece of lace or doily. This is my go-to one because I've tried a lot of different styles. I've got just a whole book of lace, or again, Pinterest, look up lace. I found this one was the easiest one for me, and it was the quickest. If you're doing the 6s like I was talking about, you can go over a little bit. It's okay. It's just going to make it look more natural when you are done. And the other reason why I do all the V's first, normally what I'll do is, because you can see I want to do that one that way on purpose. If you do the 6s and you do the dots run one right after the other, it can tend to run into each other and get blurry. Do all your V's, do all your 6s, then do all your dots. The end result is very pleasing, I think. Very pleasing. Sounds so like stuffy.
Well, you're stuffy.
I am not stuffy. You're stuffy.
By the way, big shout out to everybody from ACC who's supporting.
Oh.
Lots of our pottery friends from around the area.
Yeah, ACC. I love that place. Just such great people. And come on, you're gonna behave. There we go. Yeah, so one thing with the syringes, they get kind of finicky. I also changed different types by accident. I can tell this is, and one whole sentence would be nice here. This is my older underglaze that I used to work with, which is Jack's. It's a little bit thinner. If anyone noticed, it just started like behaving differently. I filled it accidentally with a different type of underglaze. Yeah, that's okay. Hold on. That was really wet.
You're at 9:44.
I'm sorry?
15 minutes left.
Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, we got 15 minutes left. I am going to do a few more dots, and then I'm actually going to double check and see if there's anything we missed.
Why don't you show how you put the red on top.
Yep, that's what I was just thinking. So I'm going to show you how we did the red. Not going to do the entire thing right now, but you guys get the idea. Once you start going all the way around, it fills in beautifully. So, the red. What we do, what I like to do, I don't trust myself with just a brush and cutting in. I'm not as good with that. So, take my syringe with a red in it, and I'm going to trace along.
It's always the way live demos go.
I know, you know. It's because we did a dry run earlier, and the paint was all full then. So doesn't have to be exact, because you're going to fill it in. All right, so I've got a nice angled brush here. All right, flip it upside down. So I'm just going to grab that line and pull it. So that way you're not going to have that bump there from the line. It's going to look a little bit more finished and smoother.
So you're loading a little bit of underglaze onto your brush.
Yep. Now, you'll notice I'm not doing the 3 coats that's normally suggested. So it's not going to be solid. You're going to see the brush strokes. I personally like that. You can skip that part and just carefully go along. But just know, try not to get over on top of the black, because it'll show.
Somebody would like to know what kind of brushes you use. You have to read it.
I don't know. Artist Loft. I usually get them at Michael's. A lot of times I'll get them at different places that I previously mentioned that I got my other supplies at, because they'll have Royal Eli's Love. I never read that before. That's kind of weird. This is a great brush though. Yeah, so a lot of times I'll just look and see what's on sale at whatever craft place I'm at, and I just go over to the paintbrushes and I just check them out, and if it has a nice flat edge, if it's a nice wide brush, or a nice thin long brush, those are great for doing lettering. Lettering is a pain in the butt though, I gotta tell you. So that's how we do that. The other thing I did, losing my things here. There we go. So I didn't want to fill in all the bottom, so I just wanted some kind of design. So all I did was, come on, booger. Bring it down. It's done. I'm gonna cheat.
Your hand is blocking the way a little bit.
Alright, so dot, dot, fill it in, pull it down, dot, dot, and I just go around that way. And the spacing is whatever it is. It's it doesn't, again, I don't like things that are completely even. What I am going to address though, so since I'm going to leave the bottom white, I don't want that little thing right there. I'm just going to go in with the edge of a metal scraper very, very carefully and just scrape that off. And then taking my wood tool and just smooth it back out. Where you see it here with the flowers, you can do that, but I'm not going to go crazy with that, because the thing is, if you're trying to scrape it and pull the clay across that black, it's going to get cloudy, and then you just can't even fix it. It's just, you're going to get too much into it, and it really doesn't matter. With these drips though, I'm going to leave it upside down, because I don't want it to run into the foot here. So the lettering, if you love a challenge and you do want to try the lettering, what I would suggest, what I did on here first, is I took a pencil and I carefully wrote it out first, because the first time I started to write it out, it went up the side, and you don't realize as you're turning it. So write it out in pencil first. The pencil will burn off. Then you can go in with a paintbrush. I would suggest something like this, if you can see that. It's very thin, a little bit of length to it. It just takes a lot of practice. I think we're about close to the end here.
Diane would like to know if this technique could be done in any way on pieces that were bisque fired.
Yeah, Diane, you can definitely do this on bisque ware. I've done that before where my piece has been too delicate. Switch.
Oh, we get to look at Lulu's face.
Yeah. The
oh, you're so zoomed in.
The pieces have been so delicate, I didn't want to do it on the greenware, so I bisqued it first. And yes, you can totally do these on bisqueware. Sorry. But be mindful, the things I was showing you with like scraping it off, that's not going to work. It's think of it, if you're going to do it on bisqueware, if you had a wall painted with flat paint and you're going to draw on it with magic marker. That's kind of what it's like. It soaks it in a bit faster, so you don't always get the fine line definition. But you can't, once that's it, you're done. It's on there. The one thing you can do.
We have another question. Do you add anything to the underglaze, water or deflocculant? Do you thicken it or thin it? And how long do you let it dry before adding? How long do you let the piece dry, I believe is what she's asking, before adding the underglaze?
Okay, so it should be bone dry. So I should be able to hear it. I don't know if you can hear that. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want it to be cool to the touch. I want to be able to hear my fingers. That's how dry it is. As far as adding, I do sometimes water down my underglazes. If I want a nice thin line, just do it in a little bottle like this. You don't want to water down your entire container of underglaze and have it like way too thin, because then there's nothing you can do except for leave it out uncovered, wait for it to dry again to get it back to the right thickness. So it depends on what you're looking to do with your underglaze. But usually they're in perfect condition, the velvet underglazes, to just put right into the syringes and just go to town. Other than that, you shouldn't need to add anything, no flocculant, no nothing. You don't add anything to it. You can add water if it gets too dry. But if you do that, make sure to stir it really well, just like you would regular glaze. I'm going to go back to that one question with the bisqueware. If you do this on bisqueware, you have two choices. Either once you do your design, what I usually do, because I'm a big baby and I don't want to take a chance, I stick it back through bisqueware again. And then when it comes out, then I clear glaze it. Because otherwise, you can clear glaze your design on the bisqueware. Just be very careful not to smudge it. So that's where the sponge technique comes in great, because it locks in your design.
And what are we firing to?
Cone 6.
Cone 6 for the final glaze firing.
Yep, always cone 6 for us.
Let's see. How dry for the slip before adding the painting part?
There's no slip. It's just bone dry pottery
And underglazes.
and underglazes.
And then you just wait until the surface is dry. The underglaze you just put on is dry before you do another layer.
Yeah, just touch it to your tongue. And when you get that, it's dry. It's good. Put the other layer.
Probably bad advice.
Oh, yeah, don't lick that. No, I'm just kidding. Don't lick the underglaze.
All right, I think we've about come to the end. Are there any other questions?
If I've missed any questions, I'll check later and try to get back to you guys. And or feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or whatever. And if any of you guys try this, I would love to see what you guys did. So please, post your pictures, send the pictures, and
Also, lots of love for your style.
thank you.
And I think they're talking about the pottery, not your outfit.
It's the hair.
And thanking you for the demo.
Thanks, guys. And thank you so much to my husband, Thomas DeGan, for being awesome and running the camera and making all this really cool pottery, and our little helper that's been really quiet.
There was a request for a return of Piper.
Piper. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna whine? Really? Thank
Poor
you for
Poppy.
Thank you. That was lovely. Thank you for helping. Thanks, guys, so much. Have a good night.
I'm trying to hit finish.